If it feels like you're being charged more every time you get to a checkout or every time a bill lands on your doorstep, that's because you are.
On both sides of the Atlantic, central banks are tackling the problem of inflation.
The big question is what can the actual government, not the Fed, do to fight inflation at this point in the ballgame?
I'm 100% sure that owning real estate at that point will be one of the best hedges against what's coming. I'm Victor Vandermar, Victor Ruben Vandermar. I'm the managing partner of the company Bosque Colina. We are an investment company running real estate projects on Costa del Sol, mainly actually Malaga and Marbella, and the area in between.
What's the situation at the moment with the property market from your perspective, and what is the short, medium-term outlook in terms of what we're likely to see in terms of real estate and the behavior of the market?
We are now in a situation where the inflation is, it's like I said, it's very obvious to everyone, and everybody's feeling it now on a daily basis, whether it's going to the grocery store or looking to buy a new home or a second home. You see that the inflation is very high. Prices is increasing quite rapidly. And the response from governments and central banks at this point, it's talk about increased interest rates. Hiking interest rates, and that is the natural response to an inflationary environment. You want to raise rates, increase rates so that it's more expensive to borrow, which will cool the economy down. That would be a normal scenario. However, the world is at this point in such a leveraged position that I hold it very unlikely that they will be able to raise rates significantly. They have started and they will continue, I'm sure, to raise rates a little bit. But looking at what the financial markets, for an example, think about the interest rates in the US in 2024, they think that they will be raised now a little bit, but then in 2024, they will be back down where they are now or even lower. So that makes sense, because raising interest rates now in this climate with this much leverage in the market, globally, more or less, I don't think that could work, because the economy now is more or less hooked on cheap money and stimulus packages. But they are now cutting back on the stimulus as well. But I think we need to realize one thing, and that is that politicians and central banks, they are pathological liars. Why do I mention this? I mention it because I'm sure they will find new ways to stimulate the economy. In Sweden, for an example, now the government they have a suggestion. I think probably they will make it reality that first-time buyers on the property market, they will now be able to borrow as much as 95% of the purchase price. Before or now it's 85%. That means basically that they are putting more money into the markets, because the money that's the first time buyer is going to borrow, it's going to come from a bank, and that bank is going to get that money from the central bank. So it's just another way of putting more money in the hands of people and more money in the hands of or more money in the markets, and that is essentially what they're doing. They're trying to fix the problem by adding more of the same that actually created the problem. To summarize, I'm sure they will keep stimulate the economy in the US, definitely, in Europe for sure, in my home country Sweden, yes, it's obvious. I do not think interest rates will rise significantly. I think they will go up here for a time, but I think they will do a 360 or 180 rather, and start lowering interest rates again. And I think all of this is very bullish for real estate. I think in a scenario like this, you would like to own real estate, definitely, and in prime locations such as Marbella.
With prices going up and the high end of the market particularly being so hot,
Yeah.
There's been some talk or discussion in the media, some for, some against, debating of whether there's going to be some sort of property bubble created by it. What's your view on that?
I would say that we are in the largest bubble ever created in the history of mankind, the largest financial bubble,
right?
Globally, and real estate is a part of that. I mean, it's a part of the global economy. So I would say definitely we're in a huge bubble at this point. And
how will it pop, and how will that affect us over here?
I think that the policymakers and the decision makers with the power to keep protecting the bubble from popping, they will do exactly that. They will keep stimulate the economy in order to keep the bubble from popping. And I think that there is no turning back at this point to normalize the economy and for the bubble to sort of naturally decrease in size. I think that train has left a long time ago.
So in terms of people invested in property on the Costa del Sol, what's your current thinking?
And that's the question, because when I say that the bubble will pop someday, it's because you cannot keep creating money and lending money left, right, and center, and increase prices on everything with this new money without it coming to an end. But that end might be many years ahead, even though I don't think it's that many. But I am 100% sure that owning real estate at that point will be one of the best hedges against what's coming. And I'm sure that what's coming, it's a new financial system, new economic system. It's going to be a lot dependent on what's going on now in the war situation, who will be the biggest shot callers. I mean, it's obviously a tug of war between the East and the West. And I think we are going to digital currencies sooner than what most people think. One of the best ways to protect wealth and money at this point is to actually buy and own real estate, property, land.
If you were to invest in real estate right now, you're paying X, and is that value? What am I understanding right? That you're saying that wherever the value of that property goes, it's a safer haven or safer bet than just leaving it in the market to do what it's going to do. Am I understanding that correctly?
Definitely, yes. If you compare owning real estate, I mean, putting your money into real estate compared to holding that money in cash or in the bank, definitely 100%.
After the 2008-9 crash that we saw, there were people that I know that had bought a property for X amount, say an apartment for 350,000, and in 2012 they couldn't get more than 250,000 for it because they'd overpaid during a point of where the bubble was being created. So on a very basic level, in Marbella, where you're seeing prices per square meter in some areas up to 40,000 per square meter, where you're seeing villas in areas that typically you'd be looking at 2-3 million for a big mansion, is now there's stuff going on the market for 10 million. 20 million. If someone was to buy that 10 million euro villa or pay that 30,000 a square meter in Puente Romano, for argument's sake, in 5 years' time, is it likely that value is going to hold, or do you think, is there a possibility that that 20 million euro villa or a 10 million euro villa, if they want to sell it, they're not going to get more than 5 million for it, or they want to sell that apartment in Puente Romano, they're not going to get more than 20,000 square meter? You see my question?
I see it. Yeah, I think that it's a very safe buy at this point, even though the prices are very high. And that's, once again, going back to the amount of money that's actually in the system today. You cannot compare it to the amount of money that was in the system during the last crisis. Money per se, I mean, the 20 million price tag, or the 40 million price tag, or the 10 million price tag, it's fiction, because the value of money is decreasing so rapidly that you have to compare it to something else, I think.
I'm not entirely clear whether, because there is a limited supply, there's not an endless supply, so you can't just be pushing out endless amounts of 10 million euro villas in Nueva Andalucía, because it's kind of it's the availability and the supply has gone down quite dramatically. That's pushing up the price. And what I'm not clear on is whether that is just normal market conditions that is amongst a very, very complicated global market condition and financial situation that would be happening anyway because of the basic simple supply demand equation, or whether that is actually a major factor in what is going on in the world, and where is that likely to go in the next few years in these areas, your Zagaletas, your Golden Mile, that sort of thing.
I think it's all connected with what's going on macro-wise in the world.
What's your view at the moment of Malaga? Has it changed at all?
Yeah, good. You brought it up, Alfredo, because I love Malaga. I mean, that's. I just want to say that because Malaga, I think it's a fantastic city. You have it's so close to Marbella and the coast, and also Nerja and everything on the other side. But it's a big city. I mean, it got pulse. It's alive. It's real. And you get the Spanish side of it. You walk around in the most parts of Malaga, you feel like, okay, this is really Spain. But to your question, I was there last week. Wow, it's really bubbling now again. And it's amazing to see, because during the pandemic for quite some time there, it was standing still, totally. At this point, it's bubbling. We have some properties for sale now off plan in Malaga. And I'm receiving calls from agents on a daily basis. I received a reservation just yesterday. And I feel that now it's bubbling more than it's ever done in there for the last 4 or 5 years, actually. And I think that's very exciting. And all the companies, global companies, big brands coming to Malaga, to the tech park, but also to different areas of Malaga. That's also very encouraging. It's obvious that this trend that we discussed so many times about work from home and big companies being able to put their employees in places where the quality of life is much higher in order to attract talent, etc. That trend is definitely here to stay, I would say. And it's obvious in Malaga. I saw the news letter from the town hall. They got this American guy there, Mr. Mark Sanderson. He's working with international companies, bringing them to Malaga. I just read his newsletter, actually, and there's a lot of new companies establishing now in Malaga, on top of those already there. So I think the trend is looking fantastic for Malaga, and I think there's a lot of need for investments. We need good rental properties in there, high-end for the high-paid, high-salary tech people that's coming with high demands. So it's definitely a market with a lot of room for new investments in the years to come, I would say. So it's very exciting, I say.
On a final point, what is your company's outlook and position within what's going on in this crazy time?
I can say we've been very busy during the last year, strategizing and executing on some important big plans. We are still very active. I cannot reveal so many details at this point, but I can say we're working with large investors looking to put big investments into work in both Malaga and Marbella. I would say watch this space. There's a new kind of demand also. It's not only the big villa demand, even though that's been very strong, but you have that, the lower segment as well. People want to be able to enjoy life, want to be able to work from distance, want to have a one-stop shop for everything. They want to be able to just pack their bags, pack their laptop, fly down and get everything at one place. So high demand for that.
When are you coming back to the Costa del Sol then?
I'm coming in to beginning of May next time.
Well, I look forward to seeing you then, and perhaps when you can reveal some more details of these top secret projects you're involved with, you'll let us know.
Thank you very much. Speak soon. I just babbled on there for a bit.
That's
but I
okay.
would say, could you ask the question again? What was the actual question?
Yeah.